So, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I'm gonna start off by make sure I got the mic on slacky. All right, so first of all, I'm gonna start off by saying, Barakathon, Yahweh Bashin, Yahweh Shah, and I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shah, Bahashim, Rakakadash. Double honors unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and shout out to the hopeful elect. Start with the 144,000, shalom. All right, so Lord willing, right? So I really had talked to the brothers about it yesterday. Lord willing, I just, was in the spirit, right, watching the elders live ministry. As spirit was on me to go into it, so I'm go into it, right. So this is title of this lesson will be that the end might come through them, right. And I think I mentioned it on live, but Esau, he trying to work his ways, on my Bible app that I have, the KJV, right, whatnot, and I have a lot of notes that I take a lot of highlighted precepts and notes that I take, as I study among the elders, through the Spirit of Habashin Yahushua, right, and I deleted a lot of them, right, and so Lord willing, just times where chilling or whatnot, go through watching older videos of the older videos, breakdowns, like Daniel chapter 7, or like things of that such, breakdowns of chapters and whatnot, because we all got gifts, and Lord willing, how about all scripture edifying, but history is one of the things that the spirit hits me a lot in, through the spirit probably how about and I love to learn the history, I love to learn the knowledge, because there's things that Esau try to twist and turn, to deceive and confuse the people, but you can't deny history, man. You can't deny it, and it all lines up with the prophecy that Yahweh said as well, and it's all gonna play out exactly how he said it, right? But one of the points is, so just I'm going to 2nd Esdras 11. If you understand, that's the breakdown of the 12 Caesars, right? You got the 12 Caesars, and that was during the Roman Empire. With the Roman Empire during that time ruled the known world during that time. Daniel chapter 7 talks about those 4 beasts, right? Though it tells you how that Lord willing, the spirit leaders that we'll go into it, but it talks about that 4th beast was diverse from all the other beasts, right? Taking military tactics, taking ways, things that so it was more diverse and different than any other beast empire that was, and it came different and it ruled with iron. It was very forceful. It was very strong at that time, and they ruled the known world fiercely during that time, and so, and then we understand it, right? They fail, right? They fail, right? So matter of fact, like let's go to Daniel 7. Let's go to it. Once they failed to Jake for those 1,000 years, that's when Jake came in and ruled. It was under Jake rule, right? Matter of fact, I'm gonna go to Revelation 20 first. Let's see, Revelation 20, and I'll start at verse 1. It says, I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and the great chain in his hand. And that bottomless pit was who? Right? The bottomless pit is talking about Europe, right? They didn't have the resources, they didn't have the fertile land. They lack a lot of things. Natural resources, they lack a lot of things, right? And that great chain in his hand, talking about right? Khan, right? That chain represents captivity, also represents Jake, right? And you got Domitian, which was the last ruler, right? That Flavian dynasty, he was the last Caesar, right? We're gonna say that Flavian dynasty. You had, Vespasian, Titus, and Domitian, right? Domitian, he was the last one, right? But the point I want to read is, right here, right? So Khan favors right there, right? It says, once that stopped Nerva. Now Nerva was the first, Jake to take over, right? They were took down, but Jake still kept the ancient Roman pagan ways until 325 AD. Constantine brought or made Christianity the religion of the Roman Empire, right? So you had Jake who was still practicing those ways or not, but they was bound under Jake for those years, right? For those 1,000 years, right? Right here, verse 2, it says he laid on the dragon. That old serpent was the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. So those 1,000 years they was bound, right? They was bound, and the dragon, that old serpent was his devil. Them like names, carry what you call Esau Edom, right? That serpent, the devil, because they're the physical sons and daughters of Satan, right? A dragon, right? That draconian law, their draconian way, their system, right? These are all titles for the devil, the Edomites, right? You had a spiritual demon, Satan, which is the devil, and then you got Esau, Edom, which is the sons and daughters, right? But it's the point in my notes on right out, right? That 1,000 years was from the fall of the Roman Empire until the revival of them through what was called the Renaissance period. And that's the point I want to touch, right? That Renaissance period. So now we'll point out to you how they fell, right? And when they fell, so it's like now we point that out. Let's go back to Daniel 7, right? So now let's go to Daniel 7, right? So when you have Daniel 7, right, we're gonna read verse 4. It's like in Daniel 7, we're gonna read verse 6. Right, and we'll read verse 6, because this is going into, Esau, Edom coming into power, right, through the Greeks, through Alexander the Great, right? You read about that first Maccabees chapter 1, right? It says, and after this I beheld another like a leopard, which was referring to the Greeks, right, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. And if I'm not mistaken, what's the animal called? I got it in my notes. It's like an animal, like basically like a lion or whatnot. Let me see. I might be thinking about the wrong. I might be thinking about is it? Nah, that was Babylonian Empire Slack. I think it was just Empire. I forgot the little animal, the griffin. Now that was from the Assyrian. The first beast is the Assyrians, right? Was what eventually the Babylonians came in and took over, right? The Syrian Babylonian Empire, right? Well, I started verse 4. Let's just go into it, right? So it says, the first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. And so that was the Assyrians, right? And he said it had eagle's wings, right? And beheld till the wings thereof were plucked and lifted up from the earth. That's when the Babylonians came in through Nebuchadnezzar, right? And made stand upon the feet as a man. Was talking about Nebuchadnezzar, and the man's heart was given into it, right? Just give you a little insight, right? So the Syrians, right? They had which was the lion with the ring, the griffin, as I was referring to, right? The empire was powerful prior to the Babylonian empire being established. The wings were plucked, right? As you see, it beheld the 2 wings were plucked, because that's when the Babylonian empire took over the Syrian empire, right? And was established because it took over the Syrian empire, right? The Babylonian empire lifted up through the earth through Nebuchadnezzar, right? So going to verse 5, it says, behold, another beast, a second like unto a bear, right? And this is going into the Medo-Persian empire, right? Because the Medes came first, but the Persians came, basically like more powerful. They was more exalted, right? And it raised up on itself on the side, and had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth and the teeth of it. And they said, unto this, arise, devour much flesh, right? And this is those 3 ribs. I want to say this is where is part of the place where they conquered, right? Yeah. So those 3 real representations of the 3 areas where they conquered, right? And I want to touch on that when he raised up on the side, meaning how the Median Empire, came first. When the Persians came, they became more exalted and higher, as I mentioned, right? Then you got back to where we at with the Greeks, and arise must devour much flesh, because they came through, many regions and conquered a lot. It was basically you would seem crazy to try to go against them. That was a powerful empire. You would seem crazy to try to study. It'd be like you out of your mind to try to step against them, right? And so verse 6, it says, after this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast also had 4 heads, and that's the four Alexander the Great, 4 main general. And this is the Greeks, right? And dominion was given to it, because they ruled the whole known world at the time. And that's going into the Hellenist period. Right? So now we get to the point where we was at, right? Daniel 77 going to this 4th beast. He says, and I read verse 6, really, I started there first, but I went up. Verse 6, because this is when the Greeks come in. This is when the Edomite, not the ancient Greeks, not Japhites, right? The Edomite Greeks, when they come in through Alexander the Great, when they ruled the known world at the time, right? And the Romans are Edomites as well. They're both Edomite. This one, the Edomites came in through power through the Greeks, though, right? It says, after this I saw in the night vision, and behold, a 4th beast. That's the Romans, dreadful and terrible, strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth, it devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue with the feet of it. It was diverse from all the beasts, right? It was diverse from all the beasts that were before, and it had 10 horns. And that 10 horns, that's the EU, right? That European Union, right? But the point is, right, that fourth beast is who? The Romans. And when the Romans came, they was more diverse. They came with they ain't come with the monarch system. They came with the vote in the Senate House, right? First Maccabees 8 and 15, right? They came with, they had the iron weapons, iron weaponry, whatnot. They was stealing, they'll take military tactics from this empire, this empire, this empire. It was powerful, right? They ruled the known they ruled the known world at that time. They conquered many nations, and made them pay taxes, right? Military strong, all type of things, right? So, boom. Now we know that talking about that beast, right? I know it's four beasts, right? So when you understand, and matter of fact, right, it says during 7:17, it says these great beasts, which are four kings which shall rise out of the earth, right? But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever. When you understand it, right? So boom. All right, so boom, understanding that fourth beast, right? And we know that Yahushua told what? He told Yahushua said what to that fourth beast, right? Are you not the one the one that remains that the ending might come through them, right? So let's go here to 2 Ezra 11, because Yahushua told him that after that fourth beast go down, the kingdom of Yahushua would come up, right? But we understand that destruction haven't came yet, right? So yeah, I'm gonna read this, right? So we brought in how they fail, right? How they fail. Matter of fact, it's like the spirit. I got some precepts in mind. The spirit leading me, right? So we know that the Roman Empire failed. Was brought out in notes in Revelation 20, right? When they was bound those 1,000 years, when Jake came in through Nerva, right? Things that he was the first Jake of emperor in Rome, right? And they failed, and they was bound on Jake for those 1,000 years. But after those 1,000 years, that first 1,000 years is what? The fall to the revival period, the Renaissance, right? NATO, right? Reborn. Because Esau, Roman Empire was revived. It came back, right? It came back through the Renaissance. Right, and when the Renaissance came, they established the EU. They established NATO, which is those top countries, that conglomeration of those Edomite empires, right? And then when you go into it, you go into that little horn, which talks about in Daniel 7 and 8. That Daniel 7 and 8, right? That little horn, which is what? America, because America stems out of that bottomless pit. America comes out of Great Britain. Right, Revelation 17, just less known that other day. America stems out of that. So that little horn, real fast. It says, "I consider the horns, and beheld there came up among." And this is another analogy of the same thing. It breaks down in Revelation 17, but just in a different way. Right, it says, "I consider the horns, and behold there came up." The horns is the 10 horns is who? The EU, right? European Union, right? Which America stems out of that, right? It's "I consider the horns. And behold, there came up among another," right? That like it just points, just bringing them out. But that dragon with the 7 heads, 2 horns, America stems out of that. Because wow, does Revelation 17 not tell us, right? The 8th head comes from the 7th head. Right? Who's the 7th head? Great Britain. Did America not stem out of Great Britain, right? But continue reading on, it says, "I consider the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn." Right, who's that? It's talking about America, because America comes out of that European Union, right? And this just hit me in the spirit again, giving me chills, right? It comes out of that European Union. Esau can't deny history. They can try their best to hide it, whatnot, but that's why part of prophecy that Esau will be exposed. That's why they be made bare, and they place it. Jeremiah 49:10 tells you, right? Their place will be made bare as well. All their ways, everything about them will be exposed, right? And the elect gonna be the ones through the spirit of Yahushua. The elect, they're going to be the ones out here prophesying and bringing that information out. Esau going to try to make them look dumb and things, because they control the narrative right now, but you can't stop this truth, man, right? It says, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And it's crazy because when Elder Pastor Rumlau, when he was breaking this down, it hit me in spirit as well. Because once again, you can't deny history, right? And I remember I love history. I used to love history in school. History is one of my favorite subjects, math and social studies, right? And one thing about it, I could like all the war things. I used to be into those heavy. We used to have, how you have like teacher teach something that week, and then you have a test on it. Whether like how long that lesson is, what that lesson is for 2 weeks. You have a test on it at the end when she done teaching it. I used to get hundreds on the test, right? And we understand it. These three of the first horns were the Spanish, the French, and British, because they had settlement. They was settlement over here in the Americas first. But guess what? That's why America went to war with them. The Spanish War, Spanish and American War, the French and American War, and the Revolutionary War, right? Boston Tea Party, Boston Massacre, all type of things, right? Because, but we understand it's all prophecy. See, Esau tried to put it in history, trying to make it look like great, powerful, astonishing, smart people. But we understand it's all prophecy. That's why I said riches got by the sea, because they ain't do nothing but kill, steal, and destroy to get this land, which is going to be taken from them, right? And there's going to be a judgment brought upon them, right? But getting back to it, it says, came up among them another little horn. Before them were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots, because America went to war with them, right? The Spanish, the French, and the British. And behold, in this horn were like the eyes of a man, and the mouth speaking great things, right? And I want to say that the eyes of the man, the eyes of the man is that wisdom, right? The knowledge, the knowledge that how Hashem gave them. They gave them because the scripture not tell you the same thing they use to try to go against how Hashem is going to be the same things that bring them down, right? They build these missiles, they build these bombs, they build all these things. The Most High put the spirit on them to do all these things, because these going to be the same things that are used to bring them down as well, right? And it says, and mouth speaking great things, because that's all the blasphemy, the lying, the deceiving that Esau was able to do, right? The eyes of the men represent wisdom, right? We touched on that, Lord willing, right? Touched on that, right? So, but that little horn, right? And so getting back to where we was at, Revelation 13, when that Roman Empire fell, right? They brought the Renaissance, and the Renaissance was when the Roman Empire came back into play, right? When they came back into play, right? So when the Renaissance happened, that's those. Right here in my notes. Let's look at Revelation 20. That's that second 1,000 years, right? Right here. I think that's right here. So the first period of 1,000 years, once that time period was fulfilled, right? Was fulfilled, and the Renaissance came in, and Jake started falling. From the time of the Renaissance time now, that short little season, right? Let me see. Right, so you have the first 1,000 years, so when Esau fell to the Renaissance. Then you got the second part of 1,000 years to what? That's from the Renaissance to the kingdom of Yahweh SIGH&CRY coming. And that's why those ones, see, they be deleting my notes, man. I have some notes on this, right? Going into the first dominion, I have some precepts in there and all, right? Because in verse 5, it refers to the first resurrection. But the point is, we, Lord willing, right? We understand through the spirit power Yahweh SIGH&CRY, right? So when they in those 1,000 years, or they put a seal upon him, right? I read verse 3. It says, and cast him to the bottomless pit and shut him up. Talking about Esau, Edom, and set a seal upon him, right? And we understand it. Those seals are upon us right now. The curses, right? Us being held down, right? Those are upon us right now because Esau came back into power. Yahweh SIGH&CRY allowed him to come back into power, and we were brought down, right? We were brought down for our iniquity, for our ways, for our transgression, right? It says that he should, right? Set a seal upon him that he should deceive the nations no more, right? Till 1,000 years should be fulfilled. Those 1,000 years was fulfilled from when the fall of Esau, Roman Empire, into the Renaissance. Now we in the second part of 1,000 years, right, where from the Renaissance to when this place is destroyed, right, to this place destroyed. And that's the point of the whole thing, right there. One proven factor of what? The Roman Empire is still here today. The Americans that revised the Roman Empire, right? But continue reading on, it says till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled, and after that he must be loosed a little season, right? And we're in that little season now. You see my notes, right? From the Renaissance until now, that was that short season, that little season, right? And that's when this empire is going to fall, right? This empire is going to be brought down, right? But he was held down, but they still was loosened up, right? I think I got in my notes with those seals. Let me see. At that time, at that time, they were prisoners. They couldn't move. They couldn't deceive people. They couldn't rob. They were punished by Jake. They were identified already, right? People knew who they knew who they were, right? All they do is deceive people. They make them they deceive people, right? Make them think as if Yahweh Shai. They make it it's like they make it as if they are Yahweh and Yahweh Shai. They make it like they are Israelites, right? That's what they do. But now they being bound and held down. But they came back into power and they put that great deceiving into the whole world, right? Verse 27. He said, when those 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison, right? So now that he's loose, he's let loose, right? Now that he's let loose, right? When Esau was in those caves, the yoke bound their neck, it was broke loose around the 1500 because they came back out, right? That's the first 1,000 years, right? The seal and Jake having authority over them to keep them in line was gone because they revolted and started taking down strongholds. They put themselves in position of rulership, and that's the blasphemy it talks about Revelation 13:1. Esau going out deceiving everybody, right? Job 9:24. They're just given to the hands of the wicked, right? He changed the covers of the faces of the judges thereof, merely paraphrasing, right? Who is he? It's Esau Edom, right? They changed all the pictures of Yahweh and Yahweh Shai to so-called white man. You got the Rothschild right here saying that they're the Edomites. It's like Rothschild right here saying that they're the Israelites, they're the chosen people, right? They try to make it like those people in our land over there, they put over there in 1948, they're the true Jews. You see how they're deceiving all the things that they're doing. Right, and I continue to read his notes real fast. Right, he said the seal and Jake have authority over them. It was gone. They revolted, took down strongholds. They put themselves up in position of rulership because it was time to rule. They went around deceiving the world by painting themselves as the righteousness, right? To the point where people just started accepting it. At the beginning, they were fighting against, but after a while, they just kept going. People, at that point, people just went along with it. Like fuck it. For instance, at first Maccabees, it got to a point to where, when they was in rulership, it's hard to go against who was in rulership. It was hard to go against. So guess what Jake did? The Hellenist period, they just start giving into those ways. Today, guess what Jake just give into the lifestyle of Babylon. Fuck it, we here. We might just do what they do so we can have a peaceful life, quote unquote. Right? But that's why the scriptures tell you, depart from this not to rest. There's never going to be no peace here. The peace is going to come when we get into the kingdom. They put those people in the land 1948. That's supposed to be the beginning of peace. There haven't been no peace since, right? Because there's never going to be no peace here, man. This place was put here to deceive the whole world and show people the wicked. Or show people what wicked is. And it also put here to show the judgment behind that. That's why this place is going to be destroyed and going to be a desert, man. Right? So verse 8, it says, as soon as they were loosened, right, it shall go out to deceive the nations, which are the four quarters of the earth, which is God, which is Russia, and Magog, the land, to gather them together to battle the number of whom let it stand in the sea. Because ultimately what they're going to do is try to go against, fight Yahweh Shai. They're going to fight each other, right? And then once Yahweh Shai comes, they're going to gather together to go against Yahweh Shai. He's going to destroy it, right? In the World War III, and then they're going to be killing each other, and then they're going to come together to go against Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Shai going to lose, right? But the point, right, is now when those 1,000 years, right, when those first 1,000 years was up, right, and Esau came back into seeing the whole world when that deadly one was healed. Now I'll go back to Revelation 13, right? So it's Revelation 13, right? And let's see, I started verse 1. It says, and I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, right, having 7 heads and 10 horns. We talked about earlier, right? Greece, Rome, Spain, French, Germania Major, Germania Minor, and Great Britain. Those 10 horns was the EU, right? And upon his horns, 10 crowns, right, just represent like a rulership. With those would be in kingdoms that would rule, right? Crown, right? And it says upon his head, name of blasphemy. That's all the lies, the givens, the gain, the deceitfulness that Esau put out. He says, as the beast which I saw was like to a leopard, right? It was referring to the Greeks because the Edomites came into power through the Greeks, which is in his feet, whereas the feet of a bear, right? The bear is referring to Russia, because Russia is going to be the end of this empire, right? Russia is going to be one who bring the downfall of it. Most High speaking, the metaphor of parable, right? People might not see it, but the ending of a body is a feet, right? So the Edomites are going to be brought down by the Russians, because that's going to be the end of it. Because why he said, that's why he put it in the feet, like the feet of a bear. In his mouth, the mouth of a lion, because in Revelation 17, it tells you how, that the Great Britain came, they ruled but a short time, right? They ruled but a short time. That's why America was able to break away from them, quote unquote, so physically, so easily physically, right? But behind the scenes, that mouth of the lion is talking about Great Britain. Behind the scenes, that Great Britain still run things, right? See something real fast. I'm just grabbing my other phone real fast. Let's see. Let's see. Bear with me. Right, so I searched up Great Britain lion symbol, just to make sure, and when you understand it, I got it on my other phones when I look. But if you search up Great Britain lion symbol, you will see that symbol is a lion. That's it all lines up, man. It all lines up. You had a spirit, how about y'all shot? But it says his mouth has the mouth of a lion, and the dragon gave him his power, right? The dragon gave him his power and his seat and his great authority. Because when you understand it, America's in that top seat of the revised Roman Empire, right? America's in that seat, right? America sits there, right? America is the revised Roman Empire, right? That's why in NATO, right, the rebirth of it, reborn, right? The Renaissance started in Italy. The Italian definition for NATO is what? Reborn, right? And when you understand it, right? America runs that whole thing. America's that top seat. These nations carry her, but America comes out of that EU. America say anything, that's what goes, right? So go down to verse 3, and this is the point, right? It says, and I saw one of his heads that it were wounded to death, right? Because the Roman Empire, it fell, right? It fell, right? Its deadly wound was healed. And when it was the Roman, when was it healed? In the Renaissance, right? When those 1,000 years was up and that Renaissance came, right? When the Roman Empire came back into power through the Renaissance, and all the world went after the beast. They worshiped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast. They worshiped the beast, saying, who was like unto it, who was able to make war with him, right? Right? So when we understand it, right, America is that revised Roman Empire, right? Because we know everybody is accustomed to the allure. Everybody is lured in with the lifestyle and ways of America, the American dream, right? Everybody loves the American dream. Everybody love it, right? Everybody move over here for a good life, things that such, right? And everybody, America goes out to see the whole world. The kings of the earth are drunken off his fornication, as the scripture tells us, right? So let's jump down. Matter of fact, let's see. Now we'll just read down, right? In verse 5 said there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things of blasphemies. That's we talked about how they lies, the games, the games, right? And power was given unto him to continue 42 months. He opened his mouth and to blaspheme against Yahweh, to blaspheme his name, his tabernacle, and that dwell in heaven. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints. We know who the saints are. And to overcome them. And the power was given him over all kindreds, the tongues, and nations, right? Because America is, once again, America is just that top country, man. America got everybody drinking off that fornication, right? It says, and all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. If any man hear, let him If any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that kills the sword must be killed with the sword. Here's the patience and faith of the saints. And they hate that because when you understand it, Esau, Edom was going into captivity. Did they not lead us into captivity over here in the Americas, or things that such, right? They're going to go into captivity, man, right? But here's the point, right? Verse 11, it says, "And I beheld another beast come up out of the earth," which is referring to America. "He had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon," right? Because that's 2 horns like a lamb, right? 2 horns is what? The Democrat and Republican, right? And you have lamb because they speak so soft as they care about you or whatnot, right? And he speaks as a dragon, his draconian laws, his ways, his fierceness, right? And he exercised all the power of the first beast before him. Who's that first beast before him, right? Let's continue reading. "And caused the earth and them that dwell therein to worship the first beast whose deadly wound was healed." So who's that first beast whose deadly wound was healed? The Roman Empire, right? The deadly wound was healed what? Through the Renaissance, right? And do everybody not do we not just establish reading down how everybody loves America, how America deceives everybody, thinking that this will quote unquote make a country make America great again. Jeremiah 51, America has been that golden cup from the Lord, and the Most High put them in this position for them to do that, for them to be that, right? So we know it because America mimics and copies all the ways of the Roman Empire, from the voting, the taxing, right? All of it, all these things. It was a video on Instagram. Let me see if I can find it real fast, and I'll go to it on this phone. Let me see. Dang. Bear with me. Let me see if it come up. Oh, found it. Okay, what I'm gonna do is, let's see. Let's see how we can do this, so we can show it on this phone. All right, it's looking for notifications that may come up. Right, so let's Slovakia. Let's do it here. Let's turn this off. I'll tell you what, we'll turn this off. Okay, so do like this.
I don't care how long he works and I don't care what he does. There is no job worth $2 million a year. That's why they pay athletes these fantastic salaries. I was listening to the radio the other day. They just contracted to pay one player on one team $6 million a year. Can you believe this?
And why is that?
It's the Roman circus. What does the emperor do when the people become restive? And when the people are asking questions, and when the people don't like the policies of the emperor, he sends them to the circus. He creates a circus. He builds a giant coliseum. And he begins to throw the Christians to the lions. And he has great chariot races and football games and basketball games, all to keep the idiots preoccupied with things that don't mean anything in the scheme of the entire world, so that they don't have the time to learn what the truth is, so they don't ever get smart enough to learn how they're being manipulated. so they don't ever question the emperor. 150 of the most powerful men and women in the world can meet in secret in Baden-Baden, Germany, can plot the fate of billions, and nobody even cares about it. But 6 football players go to lunch together, and it's in the headlines across the country. You have a reflection of the society in which that exists.
All right, so as you can see, America, it mimics all those ways of the Roman Empire. And Thwadi, how about you outside? Let me find that video, right? You know, and, America mimics that, right? Right, and the point of all this, what hit me in the spirit, is when I was watching the breakdown of Daniel 7, right, and El Apostle Romeli, he mentioned how Yahweh Shai said, after that fourth beast fall, right, that's when the kingdom will come, right? So what does that show you, right? See, well, how we go once again with my favorite precepts, right? Revelation 12:11, they overcame by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of his testimony. Right? What's that word of his testimony? Revelation 19:10, the spirit of prophecy, right? And you have things that came to pass, you got things that are going to come to pass, because all these things shall happen, right? And so we're right here, 2nd Ezra 11, right? And I started verse 36, right? And this is after the mission was in rule, right? This is after this is a breakdown of the 4 emperors, right? The mission was the last ruler, right? So it says, 2nd Ezra 11, right? It says, and I beheld, then I heard a voice which said unto me, look before thee, and consider the thing that thou seest. And I beheld, and lo, right? This is Ezra talking, right? It's vision, Yahweh shall show him. And he said, and I beheld, and lo, as it were a roaring lion chased out of the wood, right? Was there Yahweh Shai is also referred to as a lion in Revelation chapter 5 as well, right? It said, I saw that he sent out a man's voice unto the eagle and said, hear thou, I will talk with thee, and the highest shall say unto thee, art thou that remainest of the 4 beasts? Right? Daniel 7:17. What are those 4 beasts? Those 4 kingdoms, right? Those 4 empires that will rule, right? It says, who's that last one that was ruling? The Roman Empire, right? Right? It says, whom I made to reign in my world, that the end of times might come through them. Right? What is that showing you? That the Roman Empire is still here, right? Because that fourth beast is still in power. Right? Because this is Rasul Empire, right? And when this place go down, that's the kingdom of Yahweh shall be brought up. Let's continue to read down. It says, and the 4th came and overcame all the beasts that were past. It had power over the world with great fearfulness. Who's that 4th beast? The Roman Empire. Over the path of the earth, and with much wicked oppression, and so long time dwelt he upon the earth with deceit. And you can see this empire falling down now. You can see it decaying. You can see it dying, right? You see it dying. That's why when we talk about those seals, those curses, how they was upon them at one point, and now they're upon us, right? Deuteronomy 37 says what? These curses shall leave from thee, overcome thy enemies, right? In fact, let's hold that. Let's go to that. The same thing that we're going through now. This is the reverse is going to be flipped, right? And we're going to end with Daniel 2, right? I'll bring that out right now. Actually, I'm gonna read this real fast. Daniel 30:7, right? It says, and the Lord Yahweh, thy power will put all these curses upon thy enemies and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee, right? And we know that Daniel 2 tells us what, right? Daniel 2 and verse 44, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Daniel 2 and 44, right? It says, and in the days of these kings shall the power of heaven set up a kingdom, right? The kingdom of Yahweh shall, which shall never be destroyed. And the kingdom shall not be left to other people, because it's only for the Israelites, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, right? And it shall stand forever. So we know the kingdom of Yahweh shall is going to stand forever, man. And all these kingdoms going to be torn down, right? We know that the Babylon is going to be destroyed and made a desert, man, right? So let's go back to 2nd Ezra 11, back at verse 41, right? It says, for the earth hast thou not judged with truth, for thou hast afflicted the meek, thou hast hurt the peaceable, thou hast loved liars and destroyed the dwellings of them that brought forth fruit, and hast cast down the walls of such as did thee no harm. Therefore is thy wrongful dealing come unto the highest, and thy pride unto the mighty. And the highest also has looked upon the proud times, and behold, they are ended. His abominations are fulfilled. and therefore appear no more, thou eagle, nor thy horrible wings, nor thy wicked feathers, nor thy malicious head, nor thy hurtful claws, nor all thy vain body. Yet all the earth may be refreshed, right? Do we not talk about how in Isaiah 14, when this place is brought down, the trees will rejoice, right? We're not talking about in Proverbs that when the wicked rule, the earth mourn, right? The earth is mourning, the earth is going through because these Edomites, the Americans that rise from empire, these Edomites were still in rule. But this fourth beast is from empire. It's going to be destroyed. It's going to be brought down, right? And the earth's going to be refreshed. It's going to be renewed. It may return, being delivered from thy violence, that she may hope for the judgment of the mercy of him that made her, right? That's why, what's that? Romans 8, right? The earnest expectation of the creature, right? Matter of fact, let's go there real fast. Waiting on the righteous, man. Waiting on the righteous rule to get in, right? Revelation 8 and 19. It's like Romans 8 and 19. For the earnest expectation of the creature waited for the manifestation of the sons of power. They're waiting on the righteous rule to get in this rulership. Because we know the kingdom to come is going to be a righteous kingdom, man. It's going to be no more war, no more violence, none of that, right? It's going to be the laws and commandments written in our hearts and minds. That's going to be true peace for the Hebrew Israelites. It's going to be true peace for it, right? The other nations are going to go into captivity, but eventually, after that second 1,000 years, where, after that second 1,000 years, 1,000 years is up when it rule, because the first dominion, first resurrection, is going to be established to the 144,000 of the elect. And they're going to establish that standard. And after the laws of commandments going to be instituted to the whole earth, the other nations, they'll be able to go back to their lands and such or whatnot. But Esau, they're going to have it hard, man. They're going to be in captivity. They're going to be our slave. They'll go back to the land. They're going to have, quote unquote, a little bit more freedom, right? Because they're going to know the laws of commandments. They're going to be able to keep them, right? But that first 1,000 years, we're going to set that standard, man. Right? So, it's like I heard somebody out there talking, messing with my thought. Yeah, right? So, let's see. Go back to 2nd Ezra chapter 12, right? And it just, this lesson is the point to show you that fourth beast is still here, right? Right, so this is 2nd Ezra 12, right? And let's see, we'll start at verse 31, right? It says, "And the lion whom thou sawest rising up out of the wood and roaring and speaking to the eagle, rebuking her for her unrighteousness with all the words thou hast heard, this is the anointed, Yahushua, Mashiach, which the highest has kept for them and for their wickedness. Until the end, he shall reprove them, he shall upbraid them with their cruelty. For he shall set before him alive in judgment, and shall rebuke them and correct them. For the rest of my people shall he deliver with mercy." Right? He said, "The rest of my people shall he deliver with mercy. Those that have been pressed upon my borders, and he shall make them joyful until the coming of the day of judgment, wherefore I have spoken to thee from the beginning." So when this place goes down, we're going to be delivered. With mercy, we're going to be delivered, right? So what is that showing you? That the Roman Empire is still here. It's still going. America that revives Roman Empire, right? America that revives Roman Empire is still here today, right? But Esau, they could try to control the narrative, right? They try to control the narrative because once they came back to power, what they thought was to fight for eternal life, to make sure they rule forever. Psalms 49:11. That's why they trying to go technical route. That's why they trying to do all these gimmicks again, come with that new world order, that private matter, right? So they can fight for eternal life. But they don't understand this place is doomed. This place is done. This place is over with. This place was already set for destruction. When America came upon the earth, that's when it was already dying, man. And they've been trying their best to try not to fall. They want to keep rulership forever, right? But eventually, right? Well, that's the spirit. A couple closing pre's how they're going to be exposed, right? So, Jeremiah 49:10, "But I have made Esau bare, I have uncovered his secret places." Was America his secret place? We understand America that rise Roman Empire. America is Babylon, man. That's why Babylon represents confusion. At the video, you see the man saying they want to keep people confused. They don't want people to understand these things, right? He shall not be able to hide himself because they can't hide who they are no more. We know that they're the wicked, right? We know that they come from those caves. They come from those caves. We know they're cavemen. We know who they are, right? We know they're the lowest of low, bases of men, right? He said his seed is spoiled, his brethren, and his neighbor, and he is not. That's why Isaiah 14 also talks about, when they fall, right? Matter of fact, Isaiah 14, let's see, bear with me. Right here, Isaiah 14:20 says, "Thou shalt not be joined with them in burial, because thou hast destroyed thy land and slain thy people. Your seed of evildoers shall not be renowned," meaning they won't even be mentioned of again. They're done. They're going to be done. They're going to fall. Right? They're going to go from riches to rags, man. This place is going to be brought down. This place is going to be destroyed. Right? But the point is, it's just showing you that America's that rise from an empire, because Yahweh said, right? Are there not those remains of the four beasts? Right, that the end time may come through them. We know that Esau is the end of the world. Jacob, get that follow, man. Right? So Lord willing, right, let's edify and exalting. And I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shah, Bahashem Makakadash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of the great millstones. And shout out to the whole elect, starting with the 144,000. Shalom.